Hi everyone, my name is Rachel and I'm part of the Unify Gather team. Now, today I'll be going over the interview module, but before we begin, I do want to mention that everything we cover today is also available on the Unify app, which is available on the App Store right now, so go check it out. Without further ado, let's get started. So to start, let's go over some interview basics. What is the purpose of an interview? Well, it's for employers to use to understand things that don't appear on a resume. So, for example, your communication skills, how you think through problems, and whether you would be a good fit for the company. Now, interviews can also happen in different formats, such as phone interviews, video interviews, panel interviews, or group interviews. And even though the format may change, the goals still remain the same to understand who you are and what you can contribute to the team. Now, let's go through some common interview questions and prep tips. One of the most common interview questions is tell me about yourself. This is asking for a brief, relevant overview of your background that ties into the role. A helpful way to answer this question is using the present, past, future formula. So first, talk about your present situation, your current role or status that's relevant to the role that you're applying for. Second, briefly mention relevant past experiences or educations. And finally, explain what you're looking for in the future and why you're interested in the role. Try to keep your answer under about 90 seconds. Just because this is an introductory question, it's good to leave a good chunk of time in your interview for other questions. Now let's go through a quick quiz. What is the best way to answer tell me about yourself? A, start with earliest memory, list hobbies. B, list every past job in detail. C, use the past, present, future formula to connect background to role. Or D, talk only about personal interests. If you need a minute, take your time, pause the video. But if you answered C, you are correct. It is using the present, past, future formula. So, for example, someone might say, currently I'm studying business and working part-time in retail where I interact with customers on a daily. I've volunteered for community events, which help me develop teamwork and communication skills. Moving forward, I'm excited to apply these skills to this role where I can continue learning, growing, and contributing to a team. I want to say, I didn't time myself, but I want to say that one was about like 90 seconds or under in that range. And I think it's also important to highlight that I tried to talk a lot about experience and kind of connect it to each, like either future, present, past, one or two of the three. Yeah. And I'm moving on. So some other common interview questions just to keep in your back pocket, because they're really typical. And out of these three, at least one is bound to get asked is why do you want to be part of this company? Tell me about a challenge and how you overcame it. And why should we hire you? Now, some prep tips that I suggest is number one, practice out loud. Practicing out loud personally has helped me gain more confidence during interviews, so I strongly recommend. And then second is using the STAR method for behavioral questions. The STAR method is situation, task, action, and result. This method is really important for behavioral questions because employers actually look for this specific method when asking behavioral questions. So I recommend um, answering questions, practicing using the STAR method, as well as lastly aligning answers to value add. So while you use the STAR method, also making sure that your answers are answering the question of does this add value to the company? Because at the end of the day, that is the big question of what the employer is looking for. Now, at the end of the interview, employers almost always ask, "Do you have any questions for us?" Now, it's good. This is the perfect time to note that this is the chance to show interest in the company. Make sure to avoid answers that have simple or questions that have simple answers like yes or no, or they're easily like looked up. try either starting off by like offering to elaborate. For example, before I ask any questions, is there anything you'd like for me to clarify any further? And this can create a strong impression and even might give you a chance to elaborate further on a point you wanted to expand on earlier, depending on the interviewer's answer. Or you can go for some thoughtful questions like asking about the company's culture or maybe like asking about any challenges that the role may come with. Now, overall, why is it, important to ask questions in your interviews? Well, the employers really value candidates who show a lot of, motivation, passion, and interest in not only the role but also the company. And asking questions do show that you have done your homework, that you know what you're talking about. And by showing that you have done your research about the company, it demonstrates your initiative. And lastly, questions show that you have been listening during the interview. So if the interviewer has mentioned something that you are curious and you want to learn more about, this is the perfect chance where you can ask for more details to really show that you are curious, that you are present, and and you can just overall leave a very strong lasting impression. Now, some these are some other sample questions that stand out, and if you can tell, there's a common theme with all these questions, which is basically learning more about the company or the role that you are applying for. Some that I've already described or mentioned would be the company culture one, the challenges one, what do you enjoy most about working here is a really good one as well. Overall, these just help with really leaving that final lasting impression as a strong and good one. Now we're going to do a quick activity to wrap this module up with a good versus better answers. So we'll be going over a interview question and then looking at two answers, which is good, and one is even better. So to start, tell me about yourself. This is we already went over this. A weak answer would be, I'm a student, I like working with people, and I think I'd be good for this job. This answer is not bad, but it could definitely be more elaborated. So a stronger answer would be, I'm a third year business student focusing on MIS and HR. Through case competitions and volunteer experience or leadership, I've built strong problem solving and teamwork skills. I'm excited to apply these strengths in a role where I can contribute to both people and process improvement. This answers all the questions, all the what's that someone can have, and it's answered in 2 to 3 sentences, which is really good. Next question is, what's your greatest strength? So a weak response would be, I'm hardworking. That is great, but definitely needs a little bit more explaining and elaboration as well. So, stronger answer would be, one of my strengths is communication. One example is during a group project, I facilitated weekly check ins to make sure tasks were done on track. This helped us deliver ahead of schedule and improved our team grade. A lot more explanation and a lot, more is actually talking about an example. This is a great example of using the STAR method. Moving on to the third question, what's your biggest weakness? Now, a weak response would be, I care too much, or I'm a perfectionist, something along the lines of those. A big thing is that the employers aren't looking for or aren't focusing on the weakness part. It's more so what you did to overcome this part. So if we look at the stronger response, it says, I used to take on too many responsibilities myself instead of delegating. To improve, I've been practicing assigning clear roles in group projects. Recently, this helped my team work more efficiently, and we completed a presentation with less stress and better results. So this answer clearly talked about what the weakness was, what they did to improve, and then what the results were. So this is a perfect example of how this type of question can be answered. And then the fourth question is, tell me about a time you worked in a team. Now, a weak response would be, we just split the work and finished it. That doesn't really tell the employer much about what you did and how you contributed to the team. And a strong answer, which is a great STAR method answer is in a marketing project, our team had conflicting ideas. I suggested we compare the pros and cons of each approach, then merge the best parts. As a result, we presented a stronger solution and earned top marks from the professor. Now, this clearly states this situation, which was, in a marketing project, the task, conflicting ideas. There were a lot of ideas, but then their action was that they suggested, comparing the pros and cons, and then, result was that they presented a strong solution and earned top marks from the professor, which is amazing. And then last but not least, why should we hire you? This is a great back pocket question, like I mentioned earlier, but a response that could be better is because I need a job and I'll work hard. This is not really telling the company anything that you are offering, and why they should actually hire you. So a stronger response would be, you should hire me because I bring both analytical and people skills. For example, in case competitions, I've learned to break down complex problems, and in volunteer roles, I've supported team coordination. I'm confident I can bring that same balance of teamwork and problem solving to your organization. Amazing. I think this was, yeah, 3 sentences. Really just try to sell yourself. You have to brag about, what you have in your own experiences, like the case competitions, any experience that has taught you skills that are transferable into the role that you're applying for is amazing to talk about in this question. And yeah, this is now the end of our module. If you please follow our socials so you don't miss on our latest updates on immigration and everything happening with Unify and Unify Gather. We are very social on Instagram, Facebook, and Eventbrite. And thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you found the session helpful, and I look forward to seeing you at the next one. Bye bye. Okay, I'm done. Mythic. Think I'm done.